our keynote here. I'm going to jump off and I'm going to let you guys do the dance, okay? So thank you very much. These hands, awesome.
Thank you, Justin. Chris, are you there?
What's happening, man? I'm glued to the TV. This is a very exciting day. I want to know what Justin meant by ringing the bell. I think he has like some type of inclination that I might, somehow abuse the language.
No. See,
English.
you know how
There
you
we
always
go.
say pizza is a metaphor?
I occasionally have said that.
You have, yeah. So that bell, in a way, is a metaphor too. When Justin rings the bell, it could mean a lot of things.
All right. Let's
It
see.
could be a celebration. It could be a warning.
Wow.
It could be Justin's way of saying, you guys are amazing. So you never know. It's
never
all
know.
very contextual, wouldn't you say?
I'm here for all three, all the above, and below. But
We love
well,
it.
cool,
So
brother. It's good to see you, though. I'm a big fan of your work and what you're doing. I mean, not just for old guys like me to think anybody cares what we do, but it's as crazy as this year has been for all of us, and the biggest struggle has been. We're allowed to have some things about what really matters, and we've had this talk, a few beers before, but sometimes people get the wrong impression that I might not be so obsessed about pizza, but the fact is, I'm obsessed about life, and I really don't separate those things. Good pizza without good people doesn't exist. I don't give a shit how good your pizza is. Ring the bell, but none of it matters if we're not dealing with good people, and I've been very blessed in my life to be connected to some good souls. So,
that's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Chris. I know that you're
yeah.
busy, and it's always an honor to have
Never
you.
too busy to talk to you.
Well, okay. Well, it definitely takes a village. So thanks to your partner, Seth, and thanks to your other partner, Rob, for bringing you to us. And, I have a little bit of an agenda today, more than I usually do,
Sure.
mostly because time is tight. And I feel like in so many ways, people look to you, Chris, as some kind of pizza savior. I don't know why.
Yeah,
You're just a human, right?
Allegedly.
Right. And so, in the last year, people have had to pivot. I think that's the word people use, right?
It would be a good word.
And so before we get into that, I'm really interested to know about your tomato sauce, because I know that you're doing a new style of pizza this year, aren't you?
We are, well, a new style, but a very old style. We go back to a Wayback Machine, and during the pandemic, it was interesting. I think in that pivot, previous to this past year, like we never even really did takeout. I mean, I'd let you. Just the reality was our restaurant was full. We were tiny. Like if we answered the phone and took 10 pizzas and you're there and you're waiting, I mean, it was just chaos. And so if you want to take a pizza home, that was super cool. We're always happy to take some extra money and make people happy. So all good. But this year, the absence of humanity has led us to, well, what can we do now? We can't serve people. We can only do takeout. And we had to, like we said, pivot. And so I went back into I knew whittling flutes might not be in my arsenal, or writing a hit record. So I looked at what I had to offer, and I went to the Wayback Machine, and I went to my mind, the Aldo's Pizza in Austin, New York was my first job. And I thought about the deck oven and the humility of it. And even though the ingredients in those days, even though the box said you try the best, not try the best, not try the best, the reality was they were very pedestrian. So, but they were earnest and they were honest, and so were the people I work with. And so I thought that, in the year of comfort food, I was in my mind, thinking about comfort food. Like we hear the word comfort food, whatever that would mean to you, grilled cheese and tomato soup, or, a potato, baked or whatever. And whatever it was. And I was thinking about what was the onus of that? Where was, for people, where would they find, what would be the memory of this year as far as what would bring them comfort? And for me, I thought that I remember going with my grandfather who's a New York City fireman, but he lived up in Mystic, Connecticut for the last 30 years of his life. And we didn't have much to talk about. I mean, he was kind of hardcore, but we go down to this little pizzeria, not Mystic Pizza, but it was another pizzeria. I don't remember the name, but we get a cheese pizza with sausage, 2 of them. And I remember the greatest and the longest ride of my life was holding those 2 pizzas on my lap and the drive to his house. And we wouldn't really say too much. So, wow, it smells good. And then we'd have some common denominator, kind of like City Slickers, that's baseball. But so, this year is let's make some big pizzas, but let's, without any disrespect to the ones we made at Aldo's, let's see if we could use, now what we use, like bulk fermentation or better tomatoes or appropriate oven temp or whatever it was, a variety of cheeses that might, tell a story that we want to tell today. So that was a little bit of a wrinkle that we put in. So it was a throwback, kind of prequel to the sequel of my life, I guess. It would be.
That's beautiful. I mean, I'm trying to look to the positive this year because I feel like that's the only place I can look. And so when I see people like you pivoting, right, it just makes me wonder, like for example, like, are there things that you never thought you could do that you've done and now you're going to continue doing them even once things return to normal, whatever that means?
Yes. Funny you should ask, Noel, my old friend. I think, I used to do a lot of things. For instance, I would say, like, when I was younger, I would say never. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. And it was really in my mind. It was some affirmation of, I don't even know what that meant. I think no matter what we do in our life, I think that I know I was always, waiting for the shoe to drop. Like like when I was a kid, like I remember in the Bronx, there was a candy store that closed that broke my heart. I remember being 5 years old, and then the place that sold Matchbox car closed, or your favorite player on the Mets got traded for, whatever. And they were in a new uniform. It was all too much, for my head, So I feared change mostly. But now I just changed the word. I changed the approach to evolution. I want to evolve. I want to be better. I'm not a very educated human being, but I'm insatiable to learn. I mean, even from you, not even from you, like you teach me a lot of things about things. And I think that's the thing about all of us. First thing when I get a young chef that comes in, I'm like, fuck what I know. What do you know? And what, all of a sudden I'll guarantee you, I've never had a conversation with somebody that we don't end up reinforcing that they know twice as much as they think they do. And it might just be say, hey man, did you ever make cereal? Yeah, I fucking made cereal. I made cereal before. Like, what is that apex? What is the pivotal? What is the tipping point that, your Cheerios are too freaking soggy or they haven't received the milk? What's that tipping point of understanding when it's shoved in your mouth for the milk temperature, the weight of the spoon, thickness of the bowl? What makes it? So I think using that same philosophy of someone just thinks they're a maniac and using that maniacal approach to maybe something that might have been making a burger in the backyard, that now they can, I always think a pancake is probably one of the best pizza teachers, where the elements are probably is similar as you can get. You start at that point, all of a sudden people are more like, well, shit, I can do that. And this idiot can do it, so I probably can do it too. This idiot being me. So, so I think part of it will be, we're going to keep doing these big pizzas. I moved one of my restaurants in this big pivot, my restaurant Chata, which is our little trattoria. It was in a little magical postage stamp box size little space next to our pizzeria Town and Country. But with social distancing and the challenges in the kitchen and in the dining room, I just couldn't make it work. So I moved it to another building, and that's been a amazing transformation by accident. We never had a wood burning grill or wood burning oven. Now we have those in those spaces, and that's new Chado space. And in the old Chado space, I turned it into a bar with a cool old, deck oven that I can shove things in that are soulfully good and pretty much just lean on your nostalgia, I think. And if you want to get chefy with it, we can go there. But I think the first thing I like to do is disarm people. It's like, you know, we can get to the upskirt, the downskirt, you know, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever it is. But if it sucks, it doesn't matter, you know? So I just wanted people to respond to something soulful and sincere and hopefully delicious. And then unravel is deep as they want to get. And I'm always happy to go there. So I'll continue to, I think, keep with, restudying something that brought me a lot of, it probably got me into this kind of, you know, spinning circles for a living, thinking that I needed so much more out of that. It wasn't, you know, like exciting enough or noble enough. And the reality was, it was. I think the nobility in life comes from the things in our everyday life. You know, I mean, it's not, you know, I'm not curing cancer. I'm not, passing bills that'll change, the trajectory of humanity. But I can feed people and give them hope by supporting sustainable farm systems. And I can call and not be an asshole, or somebody can call me and I can give them what I hope that I would got when I was a young chef. So I think it's understanding what we're, I know I don't have much to give, but I know I'll give all of it. And I want to be bled out when I'm, in that big pizza oven in the sky, so.
Yeah.
Good to see you, brother. Water, by the way.
Oh, all good. So the larger format of pizza is something that's new for this year.
It is frozen pizza.
And frozen pizza. Yeah. So what's up with that? How did you decide to do that? Gold Belly is where you're selling them, right?
Well, there's a thing about frozen pizza. If you told me that, I would definitely had a bridge for you to buy. If you told me I'd be doing frozen pizza a year and a half ago. But Gold Belly reached out to us, and I was like, no, fuck, there's no way I'm gonna be doing frozen pizzas and compromising. And all of a sudden I started thinking about, well, in my house, I usually have a couple frozen pizzas now. Or, the reason even I used to do takeout before, and not because I was being a dick or whatever, but it was like, it was like the first time you met someone, like we already met, so I would have put on a better shirt if this was our first meeting. But since we know each other, I got this little shirt on here. You want to put your best face on, and I just didn't want to say, yeah, I tried that guy's pizza. I was on my way to the airport. I picked up a couple pies. I drove the car back. I put it up on the roof. No big deal. It fucking is dying. It's dying, like whatever. You like, eat it now. Like the Rosa, like you need it. It's dying right away. Like you can eat it cold, but it's the one pizza. I could eat a lot of cold pizza, but the Rosa's one that I want to eat like just under too fucking hot. And for whatever reason. But I started to think about not just survival and doing things that we needed to do, but like, could we get something that we already said, man? It's like, I'm not making an excuse. People say, well, is it just as good? Like, well, we're making them in the restaurant and we rack them, we cool them, we freeze them. We bought a $9,000 little conveyor belt machine to wrap them nice. But they're the same thing, just cooked at like 90%. So all you gotta do is warm them through. So I think there is compromised as if you came to my restaurant and you ate so much that you had to bring the last one home, you threw it in the fridge and then blasted it. But I think for me, there was something that clicked for me. Like if I come in at your house, fuck, I'd rather have toast that you made, dude, than you fucking had whoever, come back from the dead and make us suffer, I just want anything that is authentic of that place, whatever that means. So I think and I think we have to look at where we are and what we're willing to do and to survive, but also really measure and temper the compromise. And also not to preempt someone's thing, like, hey, before you eat it, it's not gonna be the same. It's like, hey, dude, this is where it comes from. This is our process. Hopefully we won't fuck it up on the way, like somehow, and hopefully you'll dig it and understand and enjoy it in the context that it's received. So I think I'll continue, I guess, my life trying to do everything, along with if I just drop a Rosa right out of the oven, 16 seconds later, I want that compromise to be minimized as much as possible. So does that make any sense, Noel? Maybe you can edit this later and put it in English for the people. But I hope it does. I have two speeds, which Noel, and of course dear brother Rob, like it's I wish he'd shut the fuck up or I wish he'd say something. There's never usually a middle ground. And that comes a lot from just working where I never, for 18 consecutive years, I never left the kitchen. I just wanted to cook for you. And there's a lot of that today, which I still just want to cook for you. And then if you want to talk about it, get into it, come by, we'll sit down. Like when I met Rob or anybody that wants to talk, I will fucking make time if I'm breathing. And I think, I don't know what else can we do for people. Just try to make time and try everybody that I run into at least know that they are important to me. What you think matters, what you do matters, how I can be better. Please give me the opportunity to be better. If, right now, there's a lot of situations in the restaurant where people just coming back. I haven't been out for a year. People either at a tipping point of like, I'm so happy to be out, or I'm so happy to be out. This fucker better not ask me to put a mask on because I'm gonna snap. So it's an interesting time to be alive, and I'll continue to try to pivot, adjust to it, do the best we can, and share as much as I have with as many as I want.
Now, we were talking, me, you, and Rob before we went live, and we were talking about tomatoes, of course, right? Me, you, and Rob are on, we're going to talk about tomatoes. So have there been any changes with your use of tomatoes in the last year?
There has. There has been use. I think the other thing about people have always asked me, like back in the day in the late 80s and early 90s, they come in and they look at the wood oven and they go, oh, that's the secret. Or you use that's the secret, or the dough, that's the secret, or the water, that's the fucking secret. Everything's a secret. And the secret, as you know, there's no fucking secret. It's transparent as day. And, it's still, no matter what we do to master it, there's no masters. It's still, we're in an equal relationship with cooking medium, ingredients, time, temper, the whole thing has to be on the same plane. So when we went to do like these big New York pizzas, it wasn't that I wanted to do the same, the same tomato, execution as we would just do on a margarita, which is take our big cans of yellow, dump it in a big bowl, get one of these hands and just crush it and, get it so your teeth can still become, involved in the process. Not, I never use a hand stick on them or a blender or a food mill. If it's real gentle, I would use it. But for me, I'm never too busy just to kind of hammer through some. It keeps us connected to it. And we add a little bit extra virgin olive oil and we bruise a few basil leaves and then just let it sit for a bit. And that's for the margarita or the marinara. But for the New York style pizza, I wanted to use more of something what we use like in New York, what I used back in the day, which we would have like an all-purpose pizza sauce, which would be for your chicken parm, would be for your baked ziti, and for the pizza. Usually a slow-cooked all-day marinara sauce. Might have a little onion, of course, always garlic, maybe a bump of oregano, and it would cook for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, until it was where we needed to be, with a flavor profile that was appropriate. So on that one, I used the gray can, which is basically our tomato sauce that's in the jar. So there's some garlic in it, and the basil and the extra virgin olive oil, and it's slow cooked, and it's pretty groovy. So there's a little bit of a difference there, even though they both be good on either. But just give a little bit of a nod to kind of what we would use back in the day, and it's really worked out pretty well.
Let me ask you a question. I've pivoted to being a teacher this year, right? Before that, I was a consultant, a pizza maker, a line cook, a business owner. And I get the same question over and over again. What's the best sauce, right, for pizza? And I always say, well, what kind of pizza are you trying to make? What kind of tomatoes are you using? Like, what's your goal? Help me to further answer that question. If people ask, like, what's the best sauce? Please.
It's like, what's the best oven for pizza? What's the best hair for a human being? What's the best anything? I think, like, I'm going to connect this real quickly because I know we're short on time. But I have a theory on a lot of things, but architecture, my theory is architects, if the best architects will build the best sandwiches, they understand, or I would say holistic doctors, because they look at the totality of anything. And they don't go, pop, 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 hey, no, make me a pizza. Don't say another word. It's going to be fucking awesome. And then you sit down and you forgot to tell them, oh man, I just came in from the doctor. I needed something really soft and whatever, or I'm allergic to something. You want someone that really understands the audience, who's it for, and the cooking, the challenges or advantages of the cooking medium itself. So if you say, hey man, I'm going for the weekend and everyone says, Noel's coming over, we're going to fucking put his ass to work. But all we got is this little fucking easy bake oven. Well, Noel says, no worries. We're going to make some grandma pizza. No worries. We can't do that other, the margarita that you want. It too much compromise, but this shitty oven is going to be way better for this grandma style than what you have. So I think, sometimes we make excuses for things instead of looking at the opportunity for anything. So the best anything is the anything you like best, I would say. No singular best to anything. What we really like, learning what we like and learning what we want to achieve. Like if we go out to eat and we say, wow, I had this pizza, it's amazing, I want to start making pizza. Well, the first thing I would do, besides kind of reverse engineer it, is on your little mood board, I put crispy. This shit's got to be crispy. I want it to be pliant. I know there's a lot of talk about the lip and the curl and the fold and the knot or the up, down, whatever. But I want to I think words get in the way sometimes, and descriptions, as you know, I'm not a big fan of I won't get into competitions. I think they can be healthy in some cases. I just don't like to get into them unless it's basketball and I can't really play anymore, or could back in the day. But I want to, I'd like to look into something and just see what do I want from it, and what do I have to do to convey that? Like if I want a New York style pizza, well, I can say, okay, what are the characteristics? Well, it's got to have that chew. I need to have that pull on that slice. So what can give me that slice? Okay, let me look it up. Let me go to some of Noel's classes. Okay, we're gonna have to use a higher protein flour. Back in the day, those pizzerias were old bakeries converted, and they were using some French bakeries, Italian bakeries. So we need some 13.5 to 14% to get that. So we'll get that anyway, because I've been using pastry flour and it hasn't been cutting it. So it's just aligning on every way, whatever it is to appropriate for what we want. If it's a Pullman loaf or a pizza, I think the appropriation of doing our research and seeing, I'm going to look at, science to help me. Like I drive my brother crazy all the time because he's uber, this thermometer and whatever. And just because we're brothers and I'm a contrarian and he likes mayonnaise, so I like mustard, I think they both come into play. I think analytics in sports and also gut instincts in sports. I think when we stay with we say, that's all bullshit. I can see a player from 20 miles away know he's good, or I can see a pizza from 20 miles away, or this is the only way to do it. I think there's some people that Jim Leahy's a great example, or Chad Robinson, incredibly technical bakers, dear friends. I'm a huge fan. But we have, I've learned a lot of things by burning a lot of things, and I think there's something for that way. But there's also somewhere where I don't want all the people to come after me to need to burn all the shit that I burnt. You know what I'm saying? So again, I hope this makes sense. I'm just telling you, there's a theory where everyone has a place in this forum, and no matter what your take on it is, there's value in it, and it ultimately makes something what people want. No matter how dysfunctional our families are, and they're all fucking dysfunctional. Our parents are all fucking crazy, including my kids, which is me. But we want, ultimately, that's what we need in our life. That's what we're going to be crying for. We're not going to be crying for perfect parents. When they pass, we're going to be looking for the people that, in their own dysfunction, loved us the best they could. And pizza is no different than that. But good luck unraveling that case. But that's how I feel.
Rob, you've been quiet over there. What have you been thinking?
Well, I'm getting my dose of Chris Bianco, and I love it. I love every
All
minute of it.
doses are better.
Yeah,
As my wife
no,
would say.
we've had a fun relationship, and it's been amazing. I thought I'd seen everything, and then I happened to get a can of tomatoes, of my family's canned tomatoes, go down and see Chris and try to sell them on my family tomatoes. That was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, and I knocked on the back door of Chris's restaurant and very apprehensive and opened the door, and there was a gentleman there all covered with flour, and I said, well, that must be Chris Bianco. So I handed him the can. Well, it wasn't Chris, it was his brother Marco, and he was working the flour over at the old his original place at Heritage Square, not the original, but his place where he was making every pizza. And I was relieved when Chris wasn't there and his brother was there, because I didn't have to face this gentleman that I had watched on YouTube, and was a little worried about getting challenged on my knowledge of tomatoes. But I handed the can to Marco, and Marco said, well, I'll give the can to Chris, but he won't open it. Chris is the type of guy that wants to know who's behind the product. I would suggest you come back to his pizzeria tonight and try to get a spot, which I did. And of course, then there was a 3-hour wait to get a spot, but I found a place at the bar. Chris was making every pizza at the time. He had just opened up Pane Bianco on Central, had to get up at 5 in the morning to make those beautiful focaccia sandwiches. He'd do 2 or 3 a day, and there'd be a line over there. But I was blessed enough for him to catch his eye, and he said, hey, why don't you hang around here? After 10 o'clock, I get off, and I'd love to talk with you. And I was delighted. And we sat and talked till probably 1 in the morning, Chris. I'm not sure. I don't know how you got back up the next morning, but said, I
always make time for things that matter, Rob. You know that.
You've been a blessing in my life. Anyway, that was when we met, and off we went on this great pizza journey that I'm just so delighted to do my part. And I've got Chris's back, and we're trying to produce a tomato that lives up to his standards and the standards of all you that are watching and making beautiful pizzas out there. So hey, Rob, we're listening.
Hey, Rob, one thing on that before I go, I'm gonna hop off in a minute, I think, but on the tomato front, I do want to, like, for everybody out there, like, the support's been overwhelming. And like, those people that know me, I could give a shit about putting my name on any fucking thing. But my life has been about putting my heart and my soul in anything. And I want to make a pantry that was better than we found it. And it's really one of the greatest honors of my life to be, to partner with not only someone that's feels the same way, but we are all in this together. We are all in this, like, every season as we struggled through last year's fires in Northern California and pandemic and things in the ground, that we pray that all will go good. Like, I just want to take a minute to know that we will continue to work hard and be part of. And to any of the Italians out there, I love the Italian tomatoes too. I love them. They're great. Awesome. When they're, not everyone is great, but the ones that are great are great. And we always look at tomatoes like wine, where we want to be part of your cellar or your pantry. And we, just like heaven, we want to be invited to that party. It's not an island. So on that note, kids, I will, I'm gonna say see you later. Anything else before I go? No, boys, any girls?
I mean, on a personal note, I'm finally going to your pizzeria next week. I'm going to be arriving on. So excited. And
well,
you know what's funny?
Pizza. I want to make it for you.
That would be amazing, but I'm not coming for the pizza. I want to see you in your true element. I want to meet your brother. No, I just want to. I want to see what it's all about, because I mean,
all the fairy dust and all.
There we go. There we go.
It'll all be there for you, baby, in full exposure.
I love it. Well, I want to say thank you to Chris. Obviously, thanks the prophet of pizza, preaching the gospel of pies, brother. It's always good to spend some QT with you, and I think that you win for the best hair. I'm coming for you, though.
Oh man, it's all good, baby. Yours is beautiful. It's all.
What do you say?
There's no winners. There's no winners.
Spinning circles for a living, right? All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you, Noel. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, Rob, thanks for running that. These hands, thank you so much. And thank you for DiNapoli tomatoes.